Hello my darlings! Welcome back to another segment of Fangirl Corner. Now it is the month of October, the month of ghosts, ghouls, werewolves, goblins, and as we are going to talk about today, vampires. Specifically, one vampire, and no, not the one everyone thinks of. No, my darlings, we are not talking about Dracula. Everyone talks about Dracula. We are talking about the web series based on the 1872 novella by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, Carmilla. Now, when I say based, I mean very loosely based. Only the barest plot elements of the story find its way into the web series. If you want to find out what the novella was originally about, I encourage you to go read it. It's like 99 cents on Kindle, and I'm sure you could find it free somewhere else. Carmilla, the web series, actually follows 19-year-old journalism student Laura Hollis, who attends Silas University in Styria, Austria. She is originally doing this kind of web show for her journalism class, investigating all the weird goings-on at Silas. The school has like a holdover from the Daughters of Artemis, an alchemy club. There's accepted monsters and goblins and witchcraft and spell work going on this campus, and Laura wants to get to the bottom of it. And then her roommate Betty Spielsdorf goes missing. Well, Laura can't abide by that, especially after she starts to realize no one is doing anything about it. She just finds a card on their bedroom floor saying that Betty left in the middle of the night, and Laura, being stubborn and hard-headed as she is, refuses to accept it. While in the middle of her investigation, however, a new roommate comes into town, a dark, broody girl named Carmilla. And as Laura starts to follow the crumb trail, she starts to realize Carmilla is not everything she seems to be. She keeps showing up in pictures every 20 years from the school. The first picture Laura finds is from the 50s. And not only does Laura come to the conclusion that Carmilla has something to do with what's going on, because plenty of other girls have gone missing while Carmilla was in the same places as these girls, Carmilla might also be a vampire. And as it turns out, she is, and she's being forced by the woman who turned her, who she calls her mother, to kidnap these girls to sacrifice them to a fish god. And yes, I'm aware that sounds insane, but in the universe it's set up in, it makes perfect sense. Like, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, fish monster. Okay, yeah, I'll accept that. So the rest of the series is just Carmilla and Laura and their friends trying to figure out what's really going on at the school, what the fish monster has to do with all of it. And Laura and Carmilla have to learn how to navigate their romantic relationship that they eventually develop. I was first introduced to Carmilla in the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of college by my friend Logan, who you've seen in previous videos. And I remember watching it, and immediately when I first watched like the first few episodes, I was like, Laura is me. And there's this really great thing they do in in the first episode actually, where when Betty is still around, she says, trying to get Laura to go to a party that, you know, that cute TA Danny is gonna be there. And of course I thought like, oh, this is gonna be one of those stories where Laura kind of comes to terms with her sexuality and that she's a lesbian. No, Danny's not a guy. Woman, straight from the start. And I'm like, okay, we didn't go there. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. And so much of Carmilla, that's just what I love about it, is that I've never seen much of it before, at least not portrayed in this manner. And away from the moment she was on screen, I was like, Laura is my favorite, because Laura is very similar to me. She's stubborn and hard-headed, and she wants to believe the good in everybody. And I love how they bring Carmilla in, who doesn't want to believe in the good in everybody and only does the right thing because she's in love with Laura. I love this idea of like the reluctant hero, and I love the fact that Laura, especially as the series goes on, wants so hard for Carmilla to change, and Carmilla asks her, why am I just as myself, not enough for you. Taking these two very different ideals and throwing them together in a relationship and seeing how they work out and how Laura and Carmilla influence one another was such an interesting watch, because my friends definitely side more with Carmilla, and I personally definitely side more with Laura. But to see where those two ideologies could either change or learn to meet each other was a really interesting experiment in storytelling, and watching just the relationships between everybody grow and develop and flourish was such a joy to watch. And don't get me wrong, Laura and Carmilla are great and fantastic, and I love them together, and how their love for each other inspires each other to be better people or more grounded people. But the side characters are so great. So like, they call her a floor don, but she's basically an RA. Laura's RA, Perry, basically just wants everything to be normal and sane, and her best friend is a mad scientist, a non-binary mad scientist named LaFontaine, and Laugh is like, no, like this is happening, it's spooky and it's weird and I'm gonna rush headlong into it. And then you have Danny, who Laura starts out the series having a crush on, and Laura comes to accept and realize, because Danny always wants to save her, I don't need that. I need someone who realizes I can take care of myself. And I love Danny because Danny always has her heart in the right place. She just has to learn to let go of her hero complex. And then there's Kirsch. So there's like this frat on campus called the Zetas, and they're your typical bros. And Kirsch is just the best because he's a bro, but he's the sweet bro that means well. And so I'm always here for Kirsch. Like, I was watching some of the episodes earlier today for research. Ignore the motorcycles going on outside, that happens a lot. And I'm just like, oh, you're such a good, like, underneath the kind of casual misogyny of Kirsch is someone who really tries hard, and he does learn and he does grow, and he just becomes such a better person through knowing all of these women, which is another great thing about the show, by the way. It's completely run by women. In the entire run of the show, there's only three guys who really take any narrative away from the women, and even then they don't do that often. Other than that, like, the cast is completely women of all shapes and all sizes and all colors and abilities, and it's so wonderful to watch. I'm also super excited because Carmilla finished its third season last year, and now they're coming out with a movie that comes out on the 26th, and I'm so excited. And I just really encourage people to watch it, especially if you want a good, just like solid, it's a good adventure story, and it's a great love story between Laura and Carmilla and their friends, because it's ultimately their love for each other and their friends that drive each other forward. So I just super encourage it. I am always so thankful. I'm actually the only one out of my group of friends who watches Carmilla who's caught up on it. And it's so good, and it's smart, and it's powerful, and it takes its feminism, and I love the fact that it makes it intersectional, and it lets the women tell the story in a way we haven't had the chance to up until now. So I really highly suggest Carmilla, and I know you hear that a lot. There are some things that I will get to that I'm not as fond of, but I do suggest Carmilla if you just want a good story with strong female characters. So now I want to hear from you. Are there any web series, especially Halloween themed for this month, that you want me to look over, take a look at? I'm going to be looking at Poe Party next by Shipwrecked Comedy, which I'm super looking forward to because I love half the people in that. Mary-Kate Wiles, Sean Prasad, Sinead Prasad, Ashley Clemens. I'm so stoked. I didn't watch it last year, so I'm making up for it this year. So if there are any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. And if not, y'all know all my social media is down in the description, as well as my actor website. And I'll see y'all later, my darlings. Have a nice night.